Bhi Sach, Nanak Hosi Bhi Sach, Aad Sach, Jugad Sach, Hai Bhi Sach, Nanak Hosi Bhi Sach. Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh. All right, guys. So just like any self-defense class, it's important that we look at what we covered last week. So we looked at how Maharaj says, Mana tu jot sarup hai, apna mool pacham. So Maharaj is telling us quite blatantly that there's a light inside of us. Call it an atma, a soul, whatever you want, but that light of the one is inside of us. And all life is about is apna mool pachan. We are literally just trying to recognize who we are. So the whole meaning of life is in one line from Gurbani, right? So this is the journey that we're on. And in order to get there, we need to do two things. We're going to need to meditate and we're going to have to do good actions. So these two act like banks on a river to keep the river going in the right direction. Or you could think of it like two oars on a boat, right? You need both of them to go forward. Otherwise, you're not going to make too much progress. So everything we do, all the good actions we do, all the meditation we do, every Japji Sahib, every time we listen to Kirtan, sing Kirtan, Sukhmani Sahib says, but all of those things, every time we help someone, even just a tiny little bit, all those good actions, all that part, all that bhakti goes into our kamai. It's like a spiritual bank account, you might want to call it, right? So this is what we're earning in order to get us back to that Jod Sarup, right? The problem is this ego, this home, is actually trying to steal from that spiritual bank account of ours. So this is the struggle that's going on. We're trying to add our gamai into it, and this home is trying to take out. And the way it attacks us is through these five things. So you've got Kam, Krodh, Lobh, Moho, Ahankar. Desires, anger, greed, attachment, and pride. So these all sit under the banner of ego, right? So ego can come in many different forms. These are the five main ones. So last week we looked at Lobh, which is greed. And we looked at how we need Nam for meditation. And one of the things we can practice is contentment. So we looked at Nam. What does it mean? You know, when we talk about Nam in these talks, what does that actually look like? So it's our kirtan, again, like I said, singing to, listening to, ardas, nitnem, gurbani, amrit vela, all of these things come into Nam. And then when it comes to the good action side of things, so the other oar on the boat, we looked at some prompts. So what is driving my need for more? Is it that we want to keep up with other people, right? Is that why we're so greedy? Is it that we're chasing safety? That's definitely true for me. And really, do we trust our guru? We're so worried about what we're going to get tomorrow. Do we actually trust in our guru to have our backs moving forward? The next one was, can I accept that I'll never have enough? It's quite a hard hitting one. Am I chasing a feeling by chasing things? Normally when we obtain things, we get that little high, don't we? I'm thinking on my phone, for example, got it a couple of years ago, and it was so precious to me then. And now if I drop it, I'm like, I'm not that bothered about it. So that feeling that I got, that initial high, is definitely gone now, right? So sometimes we can just want things when we're actually chasing a feeling. We're just chasing the high. Am I grateful for my blessings? When was the last time I was grateful and why? And then that all sort of culminated in this, how will you defend yourself? So we left it quite open for you guys to sort of go away and basically implement it however you wanted to. It could be one thing, could be several things. So I thought it'd be nice just to go through, how did you defend yourselves or ourselves? So I've got some examples. Actually, we'll come to that in a second. The examples we'll come to in a second. Before we get there, I've got a quick survey for you guys, just to cover. This is for those of you that took part during the week. It's just to get a little bit of feedback. And yeah, these are the joining instructions. It'll be easier if you guys scan the QR code. That will take you to exactly where you need to go. Otherwise, you can go on vvox.app and type in that code there. And like I say, this is just how you guys got on during the week. It's anonymous. So as honest as you want. It's absolutely fine. Okay, does anyone need more time before we start? Give it a couple of seconds. Okay, let's begin. So hopefully on your phones, this question should pop up. So it's how often did you practice meditation this week? Was it not at all? Was it just sometimes? Or was it daily? So it should be able to just pop your answer in and it will automatically submit it for you. So let's see what everyone put. Hope this works. Okay, sometimes. All right, good. And no one put not at all, which is absolutely brilliant. So well done, everyone. The next one is how did you practice that meditation? So on this one, I think you can pick multiple ones if they apply. So an ardas, did anyone do an ardas? Naam, Simran? Reading Gurbani, listening to it, Kirtan as well, or maybe you've done something completely different. So pick the ones that apply, hit submit, and it should come straight through. Okay, let's see what everyone put. Ooh, Kirtan. Kirtan in first place. Second place, we got reading, Gurbani, and our Naam Simran as well. That's really cool. A lot of people done Ardas. And then how beneficial did you find it? Again, just be completely honest. So that meditation that you might have done this week, how beneficial was it? Was it very just beneficial or not really? Let's see what everyone put. Oh, brilliant. Okay, good. No one put not beneficial. Thank God for that. Okay, so very beneficial. Excellent. Let's go for the next one. How did you practice good action to combat greed this week? It might have been just the odd thing. It might have been a daily thing. But how did you guys do it? Was it through gratitude, being more thankful, content, looking at what you guys already have maybe, giving away more things? So all of these things we could implement to combat that greed. So how did you guys get on? Let's have a look. Oh, wow. Okay, so a lot of people done gratitude and mindfulness and self-reflection. Excellent. Giving, contentment. Okay, nice, nice. And then I think this is the last one. How much of an impact did you think that had? So whilst you guys were doing that this week, how much of an impact did it have? No impact at all? Some or a lot? Again, just be as honest as you want. Okay, let's see what everyone put. Oh, brilliant. Okay, a big impact. Okay, excellent. So hopefully, hopefully that was useful. I know it certainly was for me. There is a part 2 of this survey, so if you guys are on a web page, don't close it just yet. Later on, we're going to have another one. So going back to how did we defend ourselves, I just picked a couple of examples from messages that we got through on the channel. So we had some people actually deleting their shopping apps. So we had someone delete the Amazon app altogether, and they said that if it wasn't worth going to the shops to buy, then it wasn't worth buying that thing at all, which I thought was a brilliant idea. A lot of people decluttering, practicing gratitude and contentment. We had people starting their Nithanan this week for the first time. That was brilliant. Living more consciously, avoiding bad and excess food, ardas, and being happy for others. This was a nice one. Someone put they focus more on being happy for others instead of giving into the feeling of feeling left behind. Right. So well done to everyone that took part. Hope you found it useful. I hope there were things in there that were beneficial that we can maybe continue doing. I'm going to open it to the floor really, just in case anyone's got any comments on that. But before I ask you guys, it's only fair that I report back in on mine. So last week I had a list of things that I wanted to do. Maharaj Kirpa, managed to get them all done. How did I find it? Amazing, if I'm honest. The things I thought were going to be hard, I found really easy. So I was worried about, I said every day I'm going to call up one person and I'm going to tell them that I'm grateful for them and I'm going to tell them why. And I thought that was going to be really hard. It was on the first day, you know, on WhatsApp when you can record an audio. I must have done that about 10, 11 times. I kept cancelling my recording because I was like, oh, I can't get it out. But Guru Kirpa, eventually I done it and it felt brilliant. So all throughout the rest of the week, that was my highlight of my day. Just picking someone and telling them, I'm grateful for you and this is why. Um, yeah, that was really cool. And the things I thought was going to be easy, like finding 5 things that I was grateful for, I ended up finding that really hard. That was difficult and it still is. But what it did do was it kept me in a mindset of looking for things to be grateful for. So for me, I felt a lot more happier, if I'm honest, than I did this point last week. So that thing definitely I'll be carrying on moving forward. I'm just going to open it up to the floor. Rip and Deep's got a mic. Has anyone got any comments on how they got on? Anything that did go well? Anything that maybe didn't go well? Rip and Deep's ready to run with the mic today. Hanji, Rip and Deep behind you, bro.
I kind of struggled a bit with doing part in the morning. Sometimes I tend to like value like the other things that are going on in my day. Like, oh, I need to do this and I need to do that. And sometimes with that, I don't actually take in like the teachings that I'm supposed to be taking in the morning. I feel like that kind of went a bit bad for me, but I'm just trying to like improve.
Okay, cool. Thank you for that. That's really interesting. I can totally relate to that. I think, when it comes to outside life away from Sikhi, there's always something new, whereas Sikhi is like a constant. So sometimes for me, my focus goes way on the outside stuff because there's always something new. And I forget that actually I need to focus more on part myself as well. So thank you for sharing. That was brilliant. Anyone else? It doesn't have to be anything big, nothing blockbuster. It could be something really simple. Hanji.
I think for me, practicing like active gratitude meant that there were moments during each day which would have been just a regular occurrence or someone doing a regular thing. But I realized actually that's not really regular. No one owes you anything or needs to do anything for you. So it was those little moments that I usually wouldn't appreciate that I really appreciated this week.
My God. Amazing. Thank you so much for sharing, G.
And can I ask you a question?
No. Go on.
So, okay, this week, let's say we've practiced gratitude or we've done things to stop greed.
Yeah.
And I'll take a basic example of not eating as much sugar. Now, how do you continue that this week so that you don't overcompensate?
So that you don't overcomplicate it.
Not overcompensate and like do more greed or more, like as in, because this week you didn't, and then the next week it might be that you kind of reward yourself.
Oh, I see. So if we were avoiding a certain food this week, then next week we're gonna like double up on our Mr. Sings,
Yeah.
right? Okay, I see what you're saying. I think the trick is what works for me personally is not going like cold turkey. We don't have to go 0 to 100, right? Maharaj says you just take one step towards me and I'll take millions back towards you. So on this path of Sikhi, even just one step that's consistent, Maharaj appreciates that so much more than someone that went 100 for a day or a week and then just dropped straight back down. So if you need to scale it down, by all means, scale it down. But it's the consistency over everything. Does that make sense to you? That's a good question. Anji, anyone else? Any other sings? Very quiet today. Rollo sing? How did you get on? Any comments from you? I can't remember your brother's name. I'm so sorry. How about yourself? How did you get on? Anything to say? They got proper shy. Okay, cool. All right, we'll move on to the next bit. Okay, so this next jord, let's look at how Maharaj describes it. So Maharaj says that this one is like a river of fire. They say it's like a jar of poison. This next jord is so dangerous. That is something that actually wounds our very soul, right? So this one's really bad. They're all bad, but this one literally wounds the soul. Does anyone want to have a guess as to what it is? I'm looking for Dilip Singh. He's not here today. This is his job. So we've already covered lobh, which is greed. So is it desire? Is it anger, attachment, or pride? Anyone want to guess? Ripon? That ego is not even an option, man. What are you? Pay attention. Huh? Anger, yeah, you got it right. Spot on. Anger. Okay, so this is how Maharaj describes anger. So if we think about anger, Maharaj says it's like a river of fire. When we're angry, when that Krodh is in us, it does feel like a fire sometimes, doesn't it? Feels like we're burning. Maharaj says it's like a jar of poison. You know, when we calm down after being angry, sometimes it can feel like during that period, we were poisoned. We were someone else during that period while we were so angry, right? And then they say it's something that wounds the soul. Anger's so destructive. It's so powerful that it can even feel good to be angry. That's how powerful it is. It doesn't even feel like a thief that's stealing from us spiritually. Sometimes it feels good to us. It feels good to our ego because we're actually feeding it, right? So really dangerous, this one. So Mara says, Maya moha pret hai. Kam krodha ahankara. They say that this krodh is like a pret. It's like a demon inside of us, right? So it's a bit like, you know, the Incredible Hulk. You know, when Bruce Banner turns into the Incredible Hulk and then he calms back down again and he looks at all the devastation he done. That's like us, right? We might have said something that we regret. We might have done something that we later regret. It turns us into demons. It can literally turn us into someone else. So there was once a king who would learn from a scholar, a very learned man. And every time the king would learn, they'd sit in like a darbar like this, and everyone else would be sitting there. And as the scholar would come in, as a sign of respect that everyone's going to learn from the scholar, everyone would stand up. But one day the king's meditating, the scholar walks in, and the king doesn't even realize. So his eyes are closed. The scholar's looking around thinking, why has no one stood up for me today? Because the king didn't stand up, no one else stood up. They just sat there waiting. So the scholar, he takes his usual seat, gets his stuff out, is waiting for the king to wake up, realizes that he's meditating and he doesn't bother waking him up. He waits for a little bit, starts getting a little bit annoyed. It's late. He's just a little bit annoyed, carries on. He gets more and more angry now. Now it's getting to the point where the scholar's thinking, how dare he? How dare he not even acknowledge that I've come in? He's just sat there meditating. Doesn't he know what time it is? This is what the scholar's thinking. So what he does, he storms out of there. When the king finally finishes meditating, he's like, right, let's start the class. Everyone's like, the scholar's gone. He's like, okay, go to his house and bring him back. They're knocking on the door. The scholar doesn't open up. He says, there's no way I'm going back. I'm never going back there again. I can't believe how much I was disrespected. He was full of this anger, full of this Gurud. The king himself went to the scholar's house. Imagine the ruler of a kingdom going to someone's house. He knocked on his door. He says, I'm so sorry. Can you just come back and teach everyone, please? Scholar, being stubborn, being angry, says, no, no chance. I'm never coming back. A drunk man was nearby and he says to the king, let me speak to the scholar. He goes, I'll get him out. I'll sort him out. Don't worry. So he agrees. The drunk man bangs on the door. He goes, oh, let me in. I've got a lesson to teach you. And the scholar's thinking, what? You've got a lesson to teach me? He looks at who he is and he goes, oh, you're just that drunk guy. He goes, you're a demon. That's the word he used. He goes, you're like a little demon. He goes, get away from my door. There's no way I'm coming out. He goes, yeah, I am. He goes, you've got someone locked in there. He's like, what are you talking about? It's only me in the house. He goes, no, you've got my brother locked in there. I want you to let him out now. The scholar's like, I haven't got his brother locked in here. Scholar's getting even more angry now. He's like, don't you know the kind of day I've had? How dare you come to me with all this nonsense that your brother's in my house? The drunk man says, you have to let my brother out now. Scholar swings open the door and he goes, can't you see I don't want to be disturbed? Leave me alone. And the scholar says, there's my brother. There's my brother. He goes, the drunk man says, when you do your talks to the king, when you teach the king, I sit right at the back. And he goes, one day you said that anger was so bad that it turns people into demons. That's how much we've got to avoid anger. And he goes, but look at you now. He goes, you called me a demon. So my brother demon is already inside you. And this scholar was so stunned by the words of this drunk man. He completely changed his ways. It completely calmed him down. He basically got shown up. So when my Mara says, Maya moh pret hai, kam krodh ahankara, this idea of becoming a demon when we're angry, it's bad enough when it's us, but what about when we're surrounded by it? What about if we live in a world and there's just so much anger, right? Everywhere we look, whether it's in the media, whether it's at our workplace, in our homes, on the roads. You always hear people beeping outside here, right? It's like everyone's just angry. We can't escape it. This crowd, it's like stealing from everyone. You know what makes me laugh? You know, on YouTube videos, the way to get guaranteed views is to put heated debate in the title. Have you ever noticed? Next time you're on YouTube, type in heated debate. Look at the views those videos get. It's loads. It's almost like we've gotten used to the conflict. It's like we thrive off the anger almost. It's crazy. So in order to protect our journey to this Jotsuru, in order to protect this journey back to the one that we're all on, we are going to have to learn how to run. And you'll see what I mean in just a second, right? Okay, we're going to go through some scenarios of anger. Let's just say one day we decide to meet up with a friend of ours, right? We give him a clear time. I'm going to meet you here by this time. That friend of ours is late. And this isn't the first time. They're always late. I'm sure we can all think of someone. Maybe we're that person, right? A couple of you rocked up late today as well, just saying, right? We all know that person. I know this is me, definitely. I'm always late. So that person, just feeling disrespected by this person being late, can be so angry, especially if they turn up and they don't even apologize or they don't even acknowledge the fact that they're late. It can cause us to be so angry with that person. Next scenario, on the roads. You just heard the beeps just there, right? When people drive too fast or they drive too slow or they don't indicate or they leave the indicators on, right? Whatever it is, driving is a hassle. It's crazy. In my opinion, I feel like people have gotten more angry on the roads in the last sort of 5 odd years. I don't remember it being so angry before all the time. So it's a very frustrating experience, even just driving. And then we've got the people that are close to us, our loved ones, maybe a partner, a sibling, a parent, a child. These people that are close to us, as much as we love them, sometimes they know just what buttons to press to really get on our nerves, right? This is how anger can get us as well, from the people that are close to us. So we're going to go back through these scenarios, and I want you guys to think, in this scenario, let's just say we're waiting for someone and they're late. We get angry, right? So my question to you guys is, where did that anger come from? So we're angry, okay? But where did it come from? Just think about it. Where did it come from? Has anyone got any ideas? Hanji, Zorawar Singh. Well, yeah, you're absolutely right. But where did the anger come from? Anyone? Hanji. Hurt feelings? You're right. Whose hurt feelings? Ours or the person who's late? Our own. So this anger that we feel towards that other person is actually come from us. It's actually inside us. Same as when we're driving. We might look at other people in other cars, be like, look at that person, I can't believe how they're driving. I can't believe they're doing this, blah, 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 blah. They might be beeping at us, making us angry, and we're blaming them, saying, you this and you that. You can tell I've got experience. But really, if we look at where the anger came from, it actually came from us. Meaning that no person can transfer anger to us. That is not a transaction that can take place. No one can give us anger. So, you know, when we say things like, you made me angry, or this event happened, and now I'm just so angry. that's actually not true, because that person or that event cannot transfer anger to us. The anger is actually inside of us all along. Even when it comes to people arguing, even if both people are angry and they blame each other, you this, you that, right? You made me angry by doing this, you made me angry by doing that, all that back and forth. Each of these people are responsible for their own anger. It might not feel like it. That truth is quite a hard pill to swallow. It certainly is for me. But we are responsible for the reason why we get angry. Okay? So Maharaj says, Base krodha sarira chandara, agyana na suje mahagubara. So Maharaj says that this krodh, it resides in our sarir. Not only that, but they use the word chandara. Chandara refers to a chandal. Chandal. Has anyone ever heard of a chandal before? Chandal? Zoravar Singh? Chandal? Yep. Low caste person. A chandal is basically an outcast. No one wants to associate with a chandal. They were the lowest of the low. They weren't even in the caste system. That's how low they were. No one wanted to be associated with a chandal because their job was to dispose of like dead bodies. They'd work in the morgues. Right? That's how low they were. That's the jobs they were given. So Maharaj here is saying that anger that we don't want to associate with, it's already inside us. It's in our sarir. Base sarir. Base krodha sarira chandara. That krodh is in our sarir. It's inside us. They say the person who doesn't understand this is a complete agyani. Someone who's ignorant to this, they are in mahagubara. A gubara is like a really dark place. They don't just say it's a gubara, a dark place. They say it's a mahagubara. It's such a dark place. Complete ignorance, someone who doesn't realize that their anger is already inside them, that it all comes from within. So these are the sort of people that blame everyone else but themselves for their anger. So the first thing we got to do is take responsibility, right? I am the reason I get angry. This anger, going back to what we said, it's a chore, it's a thief, right? One of its weapons is blame. It makes us blame everyone else but ourselves. So this is one of the weapons that anger uses, blame. But the only person we can blame for our anger is us. Okay, next one. What was the expectation in this scenario where we were waiting for someone and we got angry because they were late? What was the expectation? What did we want to happen? Sati, I'm looking at you, brother. Yep, that's it. Simple. We wanted them to be on time. They weren't on time and therefore we got angry. But do we have any control over that friend? No. They are a completely separate human being with their own lives, their own understanding of things, and that's all right. So we can't now say to that person, you made me angry. We can say, you're always late, but we can't blame them for the fact that we're angry. Driving, the expectation is that other people are good drivers as well, right? When they don't meet that expectation, we burn, we get angry, right? There's always an expectation. Again, we don't have control over these drivers. I wish we did, but we don't. There's no control. We can't do anything. Hanji. Yeah, so the question is it okay to have a reasonable expectation that, these drivers have some level of skill and that they have passed their driving test? If you're in Southall, probably not. Definitely not. I think that expectation causes so many issues, and the lower you have your expectations, or zero expectations, ideally, the more we'll be able to flow. Because it's done and we can just kind of move on. When we have a big expectation, does it get met? That's when it hurts us. That's a really good question, by the way, Dilip Singh. when people argue, right? This might sound really hard to work out, especially if someone's in our face shouting at us. Excuse me. But there's always an expectation. There's a reason behind that anger. They might say, "Oh, you're always, I don't know, on my case. You're always this, you're always that." Really, the expectation is, I don't want to be shouted at. Just talk to me, tell me, right? I see some people nodding in the darbar, right? They might say, um, you know, "You're so messy, you don't respect me, blah, 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 blah." When really, it's, I need you to help me clean the house, or I need you to do some chores, right? Looking at you things, right? This is for you guys. Okay, so there's always a message behind that anger. There's always an expectation that wasn't met. Very rarely does someone just get angry for the sake of getting angry. So it's the expectation that hurts us. So Maharaj says, "Chinta ta ki kijiye, jo anhoni hoye, ehe marg sansar ko nanak thir nahi koye." They're saying that when people experience something unexpected, when something happens they didn't plan for, they get anxious, they get angry. But Maharaj is saying the whole world, this whole sansar, that's the nature of it. Everything is up and down. Nothing's permanent. Everything's always changing. So this kind of answers your question, Dilip Singh. The more flexible we are in our thinking, i.e. the less our expectations, the more we'll be able to avoid things like anger. Because we can accept, you know what, this whole world, including everyone I know, including myself, we're all going to change. Everyone changes. It's just the way of the world. So why would we expect someone to stay the same? It doesn't make sense. That expectation is going to end up hurting us. So it's better that we have low expectations, but we remain flexible. Okay. And that expectation is actually the second weapon. First one was blame. The second one was expectation. This is what Guru uses, these two weapons to get us. So we need to understand what that expectation was. What did I want to happen? What did this person want to happen? Once we get that, we can start to separate ourselves from the ego. We can start to understand what's behind that anger and go beyond it instead of giving into our own anger and then acting from there. Now for the third thing. Okay, there was once a time where Guru Nanak Dev Ji, they were traveling with Bhai Manpreet Ji, and they send him off. They said, "Go in this direction. There's a tomb, and in that tomb is a great saint." They said, "Go and tell the saint that I want to meet them. Bring them here." Bhai Manpreet Ji goes. They go outside this tomb, and they realize that all of these people are sat outside the tomb. And he goes to them. He goes, "I'm looking for the saint." They said, "Is it Saint Hamza?" He says, "Yeah, I guess so." They said, "Look, you can't go in there." When Bhai Manpreet Ji asked why, they said, "Saint Hamza has got a lot of spiritual powers. And he said that if we disturb him before this 40-day period that he's been meditating for, he's going to kill every single one of us." They say, "We're from the nearby city." Saint Hamza, this Muslim saint, said, "I'm going to destroy this whole city if anyone disturbs me for 40 days. So they said, "We're sat outside just to make sure no one like you comes in to disturb Saint Hamza." By Mardanaji, they go back to Guru Nanak Dev Ji and they tell them what happened. That, "Look, I can't even get in. These people won't let me into this tomb." Mara says, "Go back, tell those people that your saint's meditation is going to stop today. Today's the day. It's not the 40-day period yet, but today's the day his meditation is going to stop." When Bhai Mardanaji tells them, everyone's in a panic. They're like running away. "We need to get out of here. This guy is going to be so angry with us." What happens is, just then, there's a massive like crack in the sky, like thunder. Part of the roof of this tomb caves in. As it caves in, the sunlight goes in and it hits Hamza in the face, the sun rays, right? So he's meditating, his eyes are closed, the sun rays hit it, he opens his eyes, bang. He is furious. How dare these people disturb me before this 40 days was up? He comes flying out in an absolute rage and he's ready to destroy every single one of them. until Hamza meets Guru Nanak. And he explains to Guru Nanak what he's doing. He says, someone in that city wronged me. Someone wronged me so bad that I said for 40 days, I don't want to be disturbed. I don't want to talk to anyone. If you do, I'll kill you, the person that wronged me, and the whole city. I'll raze it to the ground. Guru Nanak says, okay, so just for one person wronging you, you want to destroy a whole city. How does that make sense? Hamza's not listening. He's not taking in any of this. Maharaj says, look, isn't it better to reform someone? Isn't it better to just change someone instead of just saying, right, you got to die now? Why is it got to be so extreme? Hamza says, you don't understand how angry I am. I'm furious. There's no way I'm calming down. That whole city is being destroyed. Guru Nanak Dev Ji, they pass Hamza a piece of paper. And written on there is Sach hai marana, chut hai jiona. Written on there is death is the truth and life is a lie. Right? This was written by Mula. For those of you that were here last week, Mula wrote those words on that paper. Guru Nanak Dev Ji said, that city you're about to destroy, this really amazing truth came from one of the people in that city. They said, you're going to destroy him now for what? Just because of one thing that someone else did. This one person knows such an amazing truth and you're just going to kill them all. Hamza, again, he's not having any of it. He doesn't care. He's not listening. Just then, Maharaj signals to Bhai Mardana Ji. Bhai Mardana Ji, they know exactly what Maharaj is going to do. They pick up their rabab and they start playing. Both of them just start singing Kirtan. Conversation ends with Hamza. They just start singing the most amazing Kirtan he's ever heard. As they're singing these words so beautifully, Hamza's Gorod, that anger, starts leaving his body. He starts to calm down. He starts joining in with them, meditating, right? He realizes that he was blaming everyone else but himself. And he realizes that it was the expectation. He expected everyone to be perfect, and that almost led him to destroying a whole city. Just that one thing, right? This is how dangerous blame and expectation can be for us. So he doesn't destroy the city. He ends up staying in that spot for the rest of his life. Spends the last of his days literally meditating in the spot where he heard Guru Nanak Dev Ji's Kirtan. So he was completely reformed by Guru Nanak. So we need Naam. We need to meditate. If we look at everything we've spoken about so far, responsibility, that anger is always inside us anyway, right? That's come from Naam. That's Guruji telling us that. Understanding the expectation, right? Expectations. This is Maharaj talking about expectations. So everything we've learned so far has come from the Guru. It's come from Naam. So if we really want to fight this anger, we're going to have to implement Naam. So Maharaj says, Har ke charana kamala manati ayo. So meditate on these lotus feet of Vaheguruji. Meditate on your Guru. Meaning meditate. Kada kuthara pitabata hanta aukada harko nao raha. They say this Naam, the meditation, it's like an axe. Every time we meditate, every time we say Vaheguru, it takes a massive swipe at this tree of anger inside of us. And the more we do, eventually we're going to break that tree down. So we're going to go to the second part of the survey. This is all about anger and our relationship with anger. So if you need to join, just scan the QR code. That's probably the easiest way. Otherwise, you can, on your browser, type in vvox.app and punch in that code, and we'll get ready to go in just a minute. It's completely anonymous for those of you, there's a few new faces here today. For those of you that haven't done it before, it's completely anonymous. And yeah, it's just an opportunity to be as honest as you can be. We just want to understand from you guys, how much of a problem is anger? What are we actually dealing with here? Right, hopefully that's enough time. Does anyone need more time? Any hands up? Okay, all right, let's start. Right, anger steals from me when? Is it when we feel disrespected, maybe? Right? Someone is late. When things don't go our way, it's quite annoying. When we see an injustice in the world, right? That's a big one for me. Or when we're stressed or tired. I should have put hungry on there as well, or hangry, or something else. Okay, let's see what everyone put. What makes us most angry, just in general? Let's see what everyone put. Oh wow. Okay, so stressed or tired, right? That's number one. Followed closely by when we see injustice and unfairness. Yeah, loads. Next one. Anger steals from me. How often? How often are people getting angry? Is it rarely, once a month or less? Maybe just sometimes, a couple of times in the month? Or is it often? At least once a week, maybe even daily. Maybe it's a daily thing we get annoyed, we get angry. Regardless of how angry we get, by the way, this is just all types of anger, even if it's just a little bit, even if it's a lot. So, how often does anger, this gorod, steal from us? Let's see what you guys put. Oh, wow, often, at least once a week, Waiguru, followed by daily. Wow, okay, so this is a real problem. All right, good. So, this is why things like this are so important. Okay, so the anger I experience most often is, so this is asking you to rate what sort of anger you feel the most often. What are we talking about? Just a little bit annoyed? Is it yes, I'm angry? Or is it I'm just furious now? Rage? Do we go straight to fifth gear? What do we get most often? This will be interesting. Let's see what you guys put. Oh, okay. You know what? I kind of expected it to go in that way, but angry is like quite a lot, quite high. I expected it to be high with a little annoyed because there's loads of little things as we go throughout our day. I didn't expect angry to be that high though, close behind. That's quite interesting. Okay, cool, good. Next one then. Have you ever regretted something you did in anger? Right? Maybe you said something that you later regret, or you did something. Anyone thrown a few chairs across the room, punch a few holes in the wall? Maybe. I'm not condoning any of this, by the way. Um, but have we ever regretted something we did in anger? Is it yes all the time, rarely, occasionally, or never? Let's see. Yeah. Okay. So quite a lot. Quite a lot. Yes, many times. So it kind of links back into what we were talking about, the whole Hulk analogy earlier, right? We end up regretting what we did whilst we were in that state of anger. Okay. How often do we take responsibility for our anger, right? Are we the people that say, you're the reason I'm angry? You did this, you, and very rarely look at ourselves? Or do we actually look at ourselves and say, you know what? Yeah, it's my fault I got upset. It's my fault I got angry. You see what you guys put. Sometimes. Okay, interesting. And then every time I never got an equal score. Okay, interesting. Sometimes. Let's go for the next one. How well are you able to identify the expectations behind the anger? Has anyone ever looked at, okay, why is this person angry? Let's just get to the root cause. Instead of dealing with their shouting or whatever they're saying, let's just get to the root cause. What is it that they wanted? What was that expectation? Has anyone ever done that here before? Let's have a look. Often. Brilliant. Okay, that's good. Often. And then I think this is the last one. I've used meditation Nam to calm myself or others when I'm angry. So has anyone ever gone tonight? It might be a favorite Kirtan track. Mine is a Kirtan track. It's a Waheguru Simran. If anyone's in the WhatsApp group, I'll send it in there tonight. It's amazing. It really takes me from that state of so annoyed to I'm so calm. But has anyone ever done something like that before? Waheguru. Okay, good. Loads of you. All right. So that was really useful. Thank you, everyone, for that. On the last point before we wrap up, I just want to talk about anger and the differences we have with it. So we can experience anger, right? We can feel hurt, we can feel frustrated, betrayed. That's absolutely fine, right? But we don't have to become angry. We can feel hurt without losing control. We can be frustrated without just lashing out at someone. Meaning that there's a gap between the experience of anger and becoming the anger. Now, that gap for some of us is going to be really big. A lot of us can take, all right, you know what? This is happening. I'm kind of furious inside, but outwardly, I'm not going to act on it. It's okay. We kind of see the bigger picture. I'm definitely not one of those people. For some of us, that gap is going to be minimal, maybe even nothing. As soon as something happens, bang, I'm angry. Sometimes it doesn't feel like we're just experiencing anger. Sometimes it can blur the lines because that gap is so small. We just jump straight to the losing control, straight to lashing out. The thing is, this acronym of RUN that we spoke about, right? Responsibility, understanding the expectation, and NAM, that's going to cause this gap to get bigger and bigger. That's going to stop us from going from experiencing anger and becoming angry. Right? So everything we've spoken about today. So the amazing thing is that Maharaj says, Kam krodha nagar bahu pariya, mil sadhu khandal khandahe. They say that by walking the path of the sadhus, the saints, i.e. following your guru, we'll end up actually breaking anger into pieces. We won't even experience anger ever again. Imagine that. Imagine never feeling anger for the rest of our lives. How peaceful would our lives be? That's the power of Nam. That's the power of walking our guru's path. Right? We can actually just get rid of all of this. We won't even experience anger anymore. Right? So we don't have to live in this state of, okay, I'm just an angry person. I hear it all the time. I'm just an angry person. It's like we've almost given up the fight. We're not even willing to try. So this week, in terms of how we're going to defend ourselves, we thought we'd be a little bit more prescriptive. Last week was kind of up to you guys. This week we're going to be a little bit more prescriptive. So it is this analogy of run, right? We're going to have to learn to run. We're going to have to take responsibility for our anger. And also, I guess it works both ways. If we're dealing with someone that's angry, that's not technically our fault. It's not our fault that person is angry. I don't recommend telling them that while they're in a state of anger. Maybe just hold off. But in our minds, at least, until they calm down, we can think that the reason they're angry is nothing to do with me. There's an expectation behind that. So what is it? That's why we need to understand what that expectation is. And this is all backed up by Nam. This is what our Guru's telling us to do. Right? So we need Nam. We need to meditate, whatever that is. So we're going to wrap up there. Has anyone got any questions before we finish off? Or any vichar of their own, Hanji? Sorry, just wait 2 seconds. My handy assistant's going to pass you a mic. Hanji.
I was wondering if it would be a good idea to, like, you know how you're saying like run. I guess like the other person's not the other person being angry is not your responsibility. When you're angry, would it be a good idea to essentially maybe even view yourself from that kind of perspective, that you're this other person who is angry and you can detach from yourself when you're angry, and you can apply the same kind of format to that?
100%. Spot on. When we recognize anger, especially the different states we're in, okay, I'm experiencing anger, okay, now I'm really angry, we detach ourselves from it. We actually look at it from the outside like, wow, look, I'm so angry, my hand's shaking. I'm so angry, like, I could just punch a hole through that door, right? Just whatever it is, it's like, wow, look at what this anger's doing to me, right? I know eventually I'm going to calm down, right? The Hulk doesn't stay the Hulk forever, right? But look at what it's doing to me in this state. You're absolutely right. When we operate from that place of recognition, we can separate ourselves from that anger. So everything we're trying to do, that's a really good question, G. Thank you for that. Does that help? Okay, you can say no. I hope it did. Okay, anyone else? Yeah. I'll bring you the mic.
So I think one thing that's helped me when it comes with anger or when it comes with anything in terms of the Panch Jor is to perhaps just watch it, like let it play out its play. in your mind in the end of the day. I think we have this sort of fear, if you will, this kind of anxiety about these things that they're going to overconsume us. Obviously, if we indulge in them, then yes, of course. But if we just literally just stay in that stillness, when we say Nam, just in that stillness, just let it play out its play, like sort of like a flower, it's gonna live, it's gonna thrive for a bit, but then afterwards it just wears down. So I think anger, in that way, is a very sort of similar thing. Don't allow it to have that power over you. And make sure you can watch it, and in that attention, it will sort of go. I've seen that's been quite interesting, like to me.
Waheguru, thank you for that. Yeah, I think when these things become habitual, if we don't know any different, if we grew up in an angry household, maybe our parents or the people close to us have only ever been angry, maybe we've never experienced the other side. It's a really good point. Thank you, bro. Anything else? Okay, I've got a question for you guys. Last one. So we're Sikhs, right? Sant Sipahi, this saint soldier type mindset that we should have. So how can we, as a soldier, go into battle and not be angry? What do you guys think? So we're Sikhs, right? Powerful warriors, Baba Deep Singh Ji, Guru Gobind Singh Ji, these amazing warriors, so many, Mai Bao Goji, right? How they all rode into battle. But Maharaj is telling us that we can't be angry. So how does that work? Anyone got any thoughts on that? Yeah, go for it.
I don't know too much about like Sikhi, and I'm kind of like made my own. I shouldn't say made my own assumptions, but if we see like Shastra as like a peer, right, like saints,
Yeah.
we should treat them with respect, and if we're going into battle, we should take that respect and kind of like assess things with a point of like ego. So I think when we go into battle, seeing ourselves as like important is something we should diminish, and seeing the other person as well. They have importance. There isn't like who's going to win, who's going to die. We should see, I guess, both people as equal. We can both come out of this as alive, as people that shouldn't have to like face defeat. We can come out this.
I totally get what you're saying. Totally. What if those means have failed though? What if we've tried talking? We can't reason with these people. And the only thing, like Guru Gobind Singh Ji says, is now we're going to have to raise the sword. It's the absolute last resort. So what do? We're all sick here, right? What if someone came to us on the street and said, oh, yeah, you guys are that angry bunch. You guys are always angry. What are we going to say? Hanji Viji, did you have a point? Just wait 1 second for the mic, please. Rippon's going to run as fast as he can to give it to you.
I was going to say, instead of fighting out of anger, when you go into battle, you fight out of compassion to deliver justice.
Waheguru, Hanji. It's about fighting out of compassion. It's a compassionate war. It's hard to understand sometimes. There's a warrior spirit called Biras. And Biras is different from anger. I'm going to say it again. Biras is completely different from anger. A lot of people get these two confused. Biras, the warrior spirit, is complete focus on what you have to do. So when Guru Gobind Singh Ji was riding into war, it wasn't just, oh, okay, I want to kill every Mughal. Yeah, you guys have all got to die. No. They were fighting the action that these people represented, right? This army in front of them represented oppression, conversion, murder, right? All of these horrible things, that was the action. That's what they're actually going to war with, that these people stand for these actions. We've tried everything. We've tried negotiating. We've tried to show them the way. They don't listen. So this is literally the last stand. So in battle, they would use what's called Biras, the warrior spirit. That's different from anger, because anger is out of control. Another analogy we can use is, when you see boxers when they go into the ring, How often do you see them swearing at each other, swinging madly, going crazy, saying, I hate you? Not very often. Not if they're the good ones. They don't do, they're so focused. Yes, they know I've got to try and knock this guy out. They go into war, right? But they're not acting from a place of anger. They might be aggressive. That's something completely different as well. They might be fighting aggressively. That doesn't mean they're angry. That doesn't mean you've got to hate that person. My VG here on the end, he goes to the Kata same as me, and they teach us, don't they, VG, that if we lose control, like we're finished. Just like a boxer, as soon as a boxer loses control, if they give in to that anger, they're going to lose the fight. It's about controlling that and acting from a place of focus. So that is for us as Sikhs. Yes, we have beat us, the warrior spirit, but we cannot act from a place of anger. We can't act from a place of hatred. Hope that makes sense. Hanji, just wait 2 seconds, sorry.
So it comes from a place of extreme discipline, actually, in mind and emotions.
100%. This is what Sikhi is about. It's discipline in every sense of the word, isn't it? It's the external, what we do. It's what we think, what we say. Everything has got to be discipline. That's what we're trying to control. 100%. Anyone else? Yep. In 2 seconds.
This is more like, so when you asked that question, I thought it was more like, how do you fight the inner sort of battles? But I guess it's all the one and the same anyway. There's a talk from Basant Gurdwara says, Panje Bande Mahabali. So if you get the punch jawed and they're under your grip, basically, that's the true Mahabali, that's the true warrior in that way, right? And I think the way to do that is to go back to our law, our source of being, our law of being, basically, which is Dharam, and that's born out of compassion. And that's the same as Naam in my books. Basically, not ever seeing anybody or anything higher than lower than you. It's not just being pacifist, and it's not just being, nicey. It's literally inside. You don't see anybody as higher or lower than you. It's all part of this. It's all part of this one. It's all part of this ik. And it's to be able to have those eyes to be able to see that, those ears to be able to even listen to that. So when someone is praising you, or when someone is doing the opposite way or slandering you, you're hearing that with the ears of Naam, which is, sukh dukh chahe parse nahi, from like pain and pleasure that doesn't affect me, because it's all that one. It's all that energy. It's all that source. It's all compassion. Yeah.
Thank you so much, bro. Spot on. Thank you. Anyone else before we wrap up? Hanji Viji.
So I was just wondering, when do you know what is the right level of viras to use? Does it just depend on the situation and how you react accordingly? Thank you.
100%. So learning the discipline of the warrior spirit is about knowing what to apply and when. Right? So it's not about pulling a sword out just because someone swore at you. That is not viras. That is a loss of control. That's anger. Right? So it's by learning the discipline, we'll learn the level to use. So there's not one answer. It's up to us to be close enough to Maharaj, close enough to Guru, and have our meditation so high that we'll be able to make those calls in those situations about what to do. Right? So we can't sledgehammer every situation. There has to be a scale. So there's not one answer to the question, sorry. It's situation dependent is the answer to the question. It's a good question though. Anyone else? All right, Satsangji, thank you so much. Please forgive me for the mistakes I've made. Hopefully I'll see you guys next week. And let's finish off with the Fateh Ji. Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh.